Usagi, and I am here with more NieR Replicant. We are, en Route E. We're Kaine. We do a lot of sick shit. There's a whole situation here in the Forest of Myth. Just a whole situation. I think everybody's, gone and didn't die. Well, let's go check it out. Hello! Hello, Zeth. Ooh. I want soup. I do. How do you do? You know who I don't see? That old man who sits on the step.
Shit.
I want soup from the soup store. I want egg drop soup. Oh. Egg drop soup. Oh, that's a whole situation. Oh, there he is.
What are those things doing here? Wait, did they kill the villagers?
What are these things, actually? Robots. Maybe this really is the gateway to
Come
NieR.
on, more? They just keep on coming.
I was trying to talk to dead villagers. Please don't be rude about it.
Why would robots be coming out of a place like that?
That is a fantastic fucking question. Hey, you're still alive.
Robots suddenly emerged from the divine tree.
Oh, Casa is on the wrong side, actually, and hiding text. Let me scoot myself over. I totally forgot that I was on the wrong side. There we go. So I don't have to switch her for Banjo-Kazooie. Alright, much better. Oh. He didn't make it. He lived long enough to tell me what I already saw. Oh, we can finally go into this sucker. I'm gonna give the Deku tree a piece of my goddamn mind.
The hell's going on here? What's a place like this doing inside a tree?
I think all my crimes against robots, Sprightly, is coming to ruin the ending of this game. You always warned me. You always were telling me that the robots they were gonna come, and they were gonna have words with
to
me.
the sea of humanity.
Oh boy.
Welcome to the cemetery of sin and punishment.
The hell?
You are a replicant.
Indeed.
A manufactured existence.
Individual name, Kaine.
Who are you? Show yourselves!
Remain calm.
Do not be hasty.
Soon we shall meet.
Creepy little freaks.
I'm trying to think who this could be from Replicant, or not Replicant, this is Replicant, Automata? I'm digging deep into the recesses of my Automata memory bank, all the way into the stage plays. Robots. See, I didn't do this for the robots, this was somebody else. Oh, there's a fight a-coming. I feel the fish have done enough to me.
This is an integrated information management database designed to resemble a perennial plant.
It transmits phenomena recorded in its memory unit.
I don't understand a damn thing you're saying.
Observations of you have been recorded as well.
You brought an end to Project Gestalt.
You killed the original Gestalt. Now the remaining Gestalts run wild because they have nowhere left to go.
Your actions have caused the deaths of countless replicants.
Show your damn faces already!
Do not be hasty. Soon we shall meet.
The one sounds like,
Soon we shall meet.
the boy sounds like 9S. Oh, I'm so excited to see what the hell is going on. I'm glad what's being talked about is how we did a big fucky wucky. That we have, not that these things were gonna happen. Regard this one. Wanna fight me, robots? Doing big fucky wuckies. Woo! Or killing. Because both are the right hands. This game better not end in the next 10 minutes. Ah.
Ah, how nice of you to join us.
Yes, how nice of you to join us.
We are the administrators. How full of life you are.
We won't get anywhere like this.
Now then, let's fight. My name is Greenstrom.
Kaine is born.
What the hell are you saying?
We are the administrators.
The administrators of this forest.
What the sweet crap is up with these freaks?
We have long been blue shells.
Blue shows your potential.
Entertainers.
Worthless heap of scrap!
How truly fascinating you are.
You are just as we expected.
Come this way. You are strong. We have taken the liberty of sampling that strength.
We have reproduced you at the point in your journey in which you are strongest.
Son of a... Are those things me?
There are copies of you shipped by machine.
A collection of microscopic plant-based propulsion units bound together with emulsive particles.
The same as this very forest.
An emulsive forest of memories coalesced by the tribes of quantum mechanics and massive research.
A forest that records anything and everything about the world.
If you wanted me to follow any of this, you're gonna be real fucking disappointed.
Your comprehension is unnecessary.
After all you cared for is killing. Is this not so?
These other me's are brittle as hell. I ought to be insulted.
It matters not how many copies you destroy.
They will simply disperse and immediately reconstruct themselves.
There is still much fun to be had.
We have finally come to an end.
God damn, you're annoying. I'm gonna tear these freaks apart, eat the pieces, and shit them into a trash can. Fucking hell.
I know.
Have we reached the end?
Have we reached your limit?
Damn it.
How unfortunate.
It's also funny that Kaine talks about how brittle these are when she is constantly taking shit to the gut and just keeled over. She's been down and out most of this adventure.
You little fuckers.
Emil!
Kaine! Are you okay?
Emil?
You betcha! Anywho...
How is that possible? I know.
It's good to see you safe.
He's got so many arms.
Yeah.
I sense tremendous power in that magic circle. I think it's acting as an energy source. If we can destroy it, all the other Kaines should disappear too.
Got it.
I'll take care of the magic circle. You focus on kicking some Kaine butt. I mean, the other Kaine's butts. Not your Kaine butt. You, the real Kaine.
Yeah, I get it, Emil. Just focus.
So, I understand that.
Magical weapon forged by humans.
A being who absorbed the power of number 6 and transcended humanity.
Who is that? What are those voices?
Just a couple of little fucks.
Yeah. So I know we've seen that Emil is alive after the events. However, he's just
Gosh,
ahead.
It feels like it's been forever since we fought together.
This seems familiar. I think there was someone else who used to fight with us. My memories are...
Unusual phenomenal fluctuation observed.
Singularity signature detected in Replicant Kaine.
Fascinating.
Terribly fascinating.
Kaine! I did it!
But as a head, and this is not necessarily an Automata spoiler, as a head he definitely remains. So I'm confused by four-armed Emil over here.
Is that a doorway?
Beyond here lies that which was lost.
The final hope for you to reclaim.
Whoa! What is this place?
This is just
At least there
Automata.
don't seem to be any bad guys around.
Emil, I didn't get a chance to ask yet with all the fighting and shit, but what happened to you back then? And where have you been? And why the hell do you have 4 arms?
Kaine, Look, it's gonna take way too long to get into all that now.
Fine. I was worried, you know?
Aw, Kaine. But look at us now. Team Camille, back together again.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, you're not the real Emil. Something else is happening here. I have to trust what I know in Automata. Oh, this is the place in... Hell yeah, Emil. I have missed that. This is that place where you fight, where the little birds are like, what is a soul? I want to explore it, but I'm hesitant of moving the plot along.
Kaine, I feel like I've forgotten something really important.
Tell me about it.
You too?
Yeah, I can't really describe it, but it's like my mind is filled with this weird fog.
I think I made a promise to somebody? Like that we would go eat something delicious?
Well then, we'll just have to get those memories back.
Yeah!
Maybe it is the real Emil. I'm confused. All that for a recovery potion, huh? Oh, Halua? I don't think it's Halua. I think Halua is super dead. But that would explain some things. Maybe it is the real Emil. I don't know. I will just, I will try not to speculate too much. What is a soul? Okay.
I feel an enormous magical power ahead.
Just don't do anything rash. Got it?
Got it. Same goes for you, Kaine. I don't want to be alone anymore.
Yeah.
I want to jump on that. I thought it was gonna let me, and then I thought I was gonna fall. Oh. Understood. That was a very fuck around and find out moment. And I was definitely punished unnecessarily. I love Naruto running everywhere. I wonder if we'll find a mechanical pig. Robot pig.
Is this the Shadow Lord's castle?
Kaine, I'm sensing some powerful magic up ahead.
This is a very special place.
To you and to the world.
That is the core frame of this forest, within which a great variety of information is stored.
Inside it exists all that this world is, including the memories you have lost.
Though, rather than memories, it might be best to say the world you have lost.
In any case, it is surely the answer you want to see.
You don't get to decide who lives and who dies.
That voice. It's the one from my dreams.
I've heard that voice before.
These are your memories.
A record he repeatedly rewrote.
You made it this far because you were with us, Kaine.
Damn it. What is this?
Do you suffer?
Are you pained?
Shut the fuck up!
I'm gonna get beamed.
You pathetic fucking shit horse! Just die already!
It's like it knew I was bad at dodging balls. And like, a correct assessment to be sure.
Where am I? Emil.
These are your memories.
These are your records.
This is your world.
The hell is this?
Sweet memories from deep within.
Bitter memories that were sealed away.
Shades?
Shades. Human souls that have gone gestalt.
These shades are what data reproduced via your records. They are the true humans who slaughtered on their journey.
I'm glad we're talking about that.
You are a foreign entity in this world.
An error created by a discrepancy between memory and record.
I have not understood a single fucking thing you shitty little ass grabbers have said since we started this goddamn adventure.
If my memory serves me correctly... Never mind. Oh, Beefy.
God damn it. Enough with this bullshit already.
You have heard many voices.
Fear, hate, rage, suffering. Each of them has meaning.
He's gonna be the dog next.
Stop it, stop it!
This is the deepest place in your memories.
Memories you had sealed away.
And this one is your worst memory.
Motherfucker. I'll kill you as many times as it takes. You goddamn shit fucking despicable piece of garbage!
We upgraded the data that was recreated from your memories.
Why would you do that?
Can you defeat this nightmare?
Shut your goddamn traps for one goddamn second and let me kill it already!
Your efforts are futile. It cannot be stopped.
There is no escaping this nightmare.
Shit's stuck a lot.
Someone else was there when I first fought this bastard. Look, why can't I remember? twisted shit right here, and you're gonna pay! I won't lose to you! I think it's charging up its magic.
I can't kill me.
Get the fuck down here, you worthless, piss-guzzling shit rag! Okay, that hurt.
Get out, half-breed!
You disgust me. You disgust us all.
We don't want you. Just leave us in peace.
Enough already! Please, just shut up! Fuck. This is bad.
When Kaine's eyes flutter open, she sees a dozen villagers quizzically staring back. After a moment, she realizes she's collapsed on the ground, where sharp stones dig at her flesh, like... Whatever. That's not important right now. She pulls herself to a knee, before rising on unsteady feet and sparing a glance at her surroundings. The fuck, she mutters. What happened? Wasn't I just fighting shades? Her mind races as her hand gropes unconsciously for the blade that had been her constant companion for so very long. Though she can't explain it, it's clear she has somehow been transported into an entirely new world. Well, not entirely new. She recognizes the hawk-shaped weather vane twisting slowly in the wind above her, as well as the small round homes with wisps of smoke drifting into the air. And of course there are villagers currently staring at her with a mixture of fear and disgust. Oh yes, they are a familiar sight indeed. She is in the Eyrie. She is home. Is something the matter, girl? Kaine spins around at the voice and sees a woman ravaged by time. Her narrow hips barely seem strong enough to hold her body upright, while the shawl wrapped around her thin frame appears ready to fall apart at any moment. And you need a second. Grandma, is that really you? Her grandmother's eyes grow almost comically wide before blinking several times in succession. What's wrong with you, fool girl? Is your head lost in dreams? Dreams? Could this be a dream? But it feels so real. But she's dead. Grandma's dead. I watched that goddamn shade kill her, so if this isn't a dream, how the hell is she here? Unless those shades killed me too. That must be it. I'm dead. I'm dead, and this is Oh, stop with that nonsense already. Kaine flinches as her grandmother raises a hand in the air, expecting pain to come as a correction for her foolishness. But instead of a blow, her grandmother simply places a hand upon her granddaughter's cheek. The warmth of it instantly spreads from her cheek to her face before filling her entire body with a kind of beautiful light. What's wrong, girl? Asks her grandmother. Are you upset? Do you want to go home? Kaine feels tears coming into her eyes and struggles to hold them back, though she still has no idea what is happening. She knows for one thing for certain. This is her grandmother. Sorry, Grandma. Not sure where my head was at there. Well, just make sure you keep it attached, her grandmother chuckles, and she pulls her hand away. Maybe this is a dream. Or maybe I'm already dead. I don't know. But either way, I'm not alone. As long as grandmother is with me, that's enough. Didn't I just tell you to stop spacing out, girl? Her grandmother says with a cackle. Here now, hold this. She hands Kaine a large sack to bursting with all manner of fruits and vegetables. Damn, Grandma, this is a lot. Well, it's important to treat yourself every now and then. Besides, these villagers may hate us, but the bastards are more than willing to take our money. We'll lend support as we can, even if they have to hold their noses while we do it. Her grandmother trails off, as if trying to remember something, then slowly turns around. Oh, what do you know? In all the excitement, I forgot to buy my medicine. A thin smile wavers on her face for a moment before vanishing into a lifetime's worth of crevices and wrinkles, causing Kaine to take a concerned step forward. No, Grandma, that's fine. You go home and rest. I'll get the medicine. Her grandmother hesitates, clearly trying to weigh her own need for rest against her granddaughter's odd behavior for a moment before she can start to argue. Kaine charges ahead, ignoring the small voice in her head that's telling her what a bad idea all of this is. Really, Grandmother, it's fine. Go home, I got this. She pulls her grandmother's ancient wallet from her fingers, an act that requires a surprising amount of strength. Besides, you know how stubborn I am. Once my mind is set, there's no changing it. Ha! I wonder where you got that from. Seeing that further argument will be useless, her grandmother slowly turns and begins the long journey home. Kaine watches the figure recede from her vision, waiting for what seems an eternity to ensure everything is all right. Once the frail shadow finally vanishes over the horizon, she turns a heel and makes for the apothecary. Ho there, says the elderly apothecary as Kaine enters the store. Here for Kali's medicine, are you? Though few villagers have ever bothered to learn her grandmother's name, she and the apothecary were old friends. Perhaps that was the reason he'd always shown her kindness when so many others did not. Yeah, if it's not a bother. The shopkeeper immediately sets about his work, deftly pulling bottles and herbs from the shelves and mixing them with a practiced hand. Soon, a peculiar smell begins to drift through the store, one that immediately reminds Kaine of her childhood. There you are, says the apothecary, as he holds out the small cloth bag. Sorry for the wait. Oh, and say, that's a fine portrait you drew of your grandmother. Looks just like her, so it does. Honestly, I've never seen Kali so over the moon about anything. She brags about it every time she stops by. You saw that, says Kaine, her eyes narrowing. Said portrait was something she had whipped up one day after getting her hands on some crayons, and to call it rough would be an act of purest generosity. The idea her grandmother was displaying it around town makes Kaine's stomach want to sink down into her feet before slinking off into a hole somewhere. You bet I saw it, the pleased apothecary says. She brought it all the way here just to show me. But it's been a long time since I've seen something so wonderful. Kaine's mind begins to whirl. The picture was shit. She was sure it was shit. And yet the man's reaction displayed the exact opposite opinion. Is he just being nice to me? The apothecary, as if sensing her skepticism, doubles down. I could really tell you put your heart into it. It was simply wonderful. Thanks, offers Kaine, who just wants this entire conversation to be over. She briefly considers how she's going to make her grandmother cease her traveling art show, but then realizes that train has likely left the station. Shaking her head to banish her increasingly shrill thoughts, she grips the bag of medicine tightly and turns to leave. But just as she reaches the door, she hears a loud thud from somewhere back in the shop. Kaine turns around to see the apothecary crouching on the floor. Hey there, you okay? When the man does not reply, Kaine moves towards him. She assumes he just slipped on something, or perhaps hit his head on one of the low-hanging shelves in the crowded shop, but the moment she draws close to him, she hears him begin to scream inside her mind. My leg! My leg! My leg! Oh God, where is my leg? Panicked, Kaine looks down and discovers the man's leg is gone. Help me! Screams the voice inside her head. Help me! As Kaine looks on in horror, the man's fingers begin to shimmer and vanish. He reaches out for her with his other hand, only to find that it too is no longer there. Soon his arms go, then his legs. Then the side of his face warbles out of existence, causing a stray eyeball to roll out of its socket and onto the floor. Heal, says the voice, as if it could be called that anymore. I can't. A moment later, what remains of the pitiful shopkeeper collapses into a heap of ash, releasing a small puff into the suddenly silent air. Christ. As Kaine stumbles back in horror, she hears the cacophony of terror rising up outside. Oh God, what's happening? My arms! Where are my arms? Why can't I see? Kaine bursts out of the store and finds herself in a nightmare. Homes slough on the sides of cliffs, taking out pieces of scaffolding as they fall. Screams echo out everywhere, creating an opera fit for hell. Villagers run in mad circles before exploding into dust, their clothing drifting this way and that as it floats unearthed through the air. As she stares at the scene wide-eyed, a single thought suddenly inserts herself into the forefront of her mind. Grandma. Kaine breaks into a run, the crumbling world around her suddenly forgotten. She leaps from one piece of falling debris onto the next, using them as stepping stones to cross a world that is increasingly losing cohesion. As she continues her mad dash, flecks of ash are blown into her face, her mouth, her eyes. Ash, 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 buildings and people, all reduced to so many cinders in the wind. She arrives at her childhood home. It was once a place filled with precious memories, a place she regarded as an oasis in an increasingly mad world, but now it is nothing but a pile of ash. As she gapes unbelievably at the sight, a faint sound suddenly reaches her ears. Kaine. She's alive! Grandmother is alive. With a speed born out of panic, she leaps into the giant pile and begins shoving it aside. It stings her eyes and burns her lungs, but she continues on, heedless of the danger. Finally, she pulls a small, blackened form out of the darkness. Come on, Grandma, she whispers. We're getting out of here. Without waiting for a response, Kaine gathers her grandmother in her arms and breaks into a mad run, hoping to escape the chaos. But the wave of ash has become a tsunami, and before she can make it more than a few desperate steps, it reaches out with a cruel hand and overwhelms them. Kaine stumbles and falls, sending her grandmother and hers tumbling into the ashes. One glance at her feet is enough to reveal the culprit. Her right leg has vanished at a point just below the knee. Oh, it'll take more than that to stop me, mutters Kaine, as she slings her grandmother over her shoulder and begins to crawl away. We're going to make it. We're going to live. As she crawls, her grandmother seems to grow lightly, as if trying to magically reduce the weight of her own burden, and as Kaine continues to struggle, she hears a small, soft voice enter her ear. Thank you, Kaine. Think. As the voice drifted away, the last pile of ash that used to be her grandmother drifts away on a soft breeze. Kaine screams, an impossibly sad and lonely sound, and begins trying to pull the ashes back to her. This cannot be happening. It can't be happening! But the ashes are mingling with all the other detritus from the collapsed village, and soon she can no longer tell what particles belong to who. Come on, come the fuck on already! She continues her frantic digging. Her hand suddenly comes across a piece of soft, ragged fabric. Her grandmother's shawl. I knew this place was a lie. I knew it, and I still couldn't do anything. I couldn't save anyone. I couldn't even escape. I just felt the place. I just felt peace in that place, and I accepted it. I wanted it. That's why there was nothing here. No reason to live. No goal. No anything. So this is why I'm... Suddenly a new voice enters Kaine's world.
I say, can you hear me?
After a moment, the voice calls out again. Louder. Clearer.
Now then, you wish to get him back, hmm?
Him, replied Kaine. Who you're talking about?
For the love of all the heavens, I always did know you were a handful.
Though the voice immediately begins to grate on Kaine's nerves, there is something else as well. A kind of warmth, almost a familiarity.
Are you truly so daft that you have already forgotten one of your beloved traveling companions and friends?
Says the voice, which causes something deep in Kaine's memories to surge forth. That's right, I had friends, and I was fighting to get one of them back. In this realization, a blinding, radiant beam of light shoots out across an ash-covered world. Covering her eyes with one trembling hand, Kaine reaches for
Do
it.
hurry back now, hussy. What is the matter? Do you still not remember?
Oh, please
You
let
have not
Kaine-
time to become lost in your thoughts.
Right. Okay. Let's get him back!
Please let Kaine use the book. That would be so shit. Let's go. The power of Grimoire Voice grants you the use
Use
of
my
magic.
magic to topple the beast. I presume you know how to use magic, yes?
Shut
And
up.
give us a show, hussy.
I don't need your help to take out this goddamn fuckwaffle!
Fuck waffle is a great phrase.
Use my power to knock the creature down with magic. Well done! Now clobber the beast!
Let's fuck it up good! Shit, this thing is tough.
Let the next onslaught be our last.
Hey, Vice.
Yes.
Thanks.
Have you been in your cups again?
Fuck your face.
Ah, that's more like it. You sound of mind, hussy. What you're attempting is extremely...
Cram it, book. I'm doing this.
I see. Let not your resolution waver before mere illusions again, hussy.
Don't worry. I'll do what needs to be done.
Do not relent in your assault.
Time to close this out!
Let us finish this.
So this is a replicant's potential.
Kaine, don't come. Gotta go back. Don't come.
Shut up, shut up, shut up! I already made up my mind. Nobody tells me what to do. I swore I would be a sword. I swore that I would be your sword. Do you hear me? So I am going to get you back, and I don't care what it takes. Who the fuck do you think you are to just up and disappear like that, huh? I'm the one who gets to decide what my life means to me. It's my life, and I'll do whatever I want with it. So quit wasting time like a brainless fuckwit and get your ass back here now!
If you choose this option, your current save data will be erased, and the save data deleted in ending D will be restored. Are you sure about this? Once your save data has been restored, this save data will be erased. So you can only choose this option once. Are you really sure? Are you really sure about this? No. Wait. Oh my, if my flowers are dead, I'm gonna be super pissed.
I leave the rest to you, hussy.
Our journey may have been meaningless.
Our past may have been a mistake.
But we're not going back.
Even if this world comes to an end.
Because this is the world with the people we cherish.
I'm trying to decide if I liked... I'm trying to decide if I liked the original better, where your character stayed dead and you erased all your save data, or this new one where... where you bring yourself back? It raises a lot more questions than it answers, and it certainly doesn't lead into the NieR Automata world like I thought it was going to. At least I don't think so. Emil's whole situation is very confusing, and we'll see why in Automata. I don't know. I think there was something better about the D ending, but then I am biased. I didn't hate this though. I wish it had been more. There had been more to Kaine than just rescuing us. Those children also looked very much like little 2A, or I'm sorry, little 2B and little 9S, which I think was the intention. And I'm pretty sure the little boy is the voice, has the same voice as 9S. What their purpose is, I don't know. And it's not 9S, because that's a whole situation. They might have something to do with future games. We are due for something new. And there is the NieR mobile game. Oh, Reincarnation? Which might take this route and do something with it. No, Emil's immortal. That's not a spoiler. That's known. That boy's been around since, all this has happened. He's been around for like 1400 years. I'm interested to see where they go with this. Because I'm sure it's gonna go somewhere. You don't just kind of add a route for fun. It's not Yoko Taro anyway. So I'm sure this will have implications later down the road for whatever he's intending to do next. That man's a madman. Oh, we got new title card. Ah, it took my freaking other saves though. I only got the one back. God bless Yoko Taro. I'm sure it will somehow connect. Because Drakengard, we have to remember that Drakengard was an entirely different series that just happened to connect into, to NieR. This could also, in theory, whatever this new IP he's making could easily connect into his other shit. Because Drakengard Dragon Guard and NieR, you had to get pretty far to be like, oh shit, it's all connected. It was cheeky. I do not doubt that he could do that again. We gotta go check my garden. It's so important. If those flowers are dead, I will burn everything to the ground. Those flowers are 100% dead. There's not a doubt in my mind that those flowers are dead. Out of my way. Assuming time has continued on as it has, where is the boatman? Okay.
Oh there.
Oh there! Assuming time has continued on as it has, despite my save file being gone. Oh. I see petals, but I don't think that fucking means anything. I have to pick the white ones anyway. Oh no! Ugh. I don't even get the seeds. I don't even think I have that many pink ones left. The positive to all of this is despite losing a bunch of fucking seeds, I don't see any white ones here, so it was a bust anyway. If I had seen a white flower there, I would have lost my fucking mind. I would have gone absolutely buck wild. Cause I have to pick the white one as is. I think I have 3 pink flowers left. I don't think I used them all. I'm pretty sure I didn't use them all. I might actually be out of peach. It's gonna be close. I just need enough even if there's only 1, I can rebuild. need to at least have one. Oh. 2. That's okay. As long as I remember to log in, it should be okay. Absolutely fucking tragic. Okay, so we have to go to the woman's house, which I believe is Kaine's grandmother's house, and get the sword. The new sword. We'll go to the brother's shop to see if I had gotten anything that could upgrade any of these weapons. I don't think I did. And then we'll read the sword stories and call it a day. And tomorrow we start on Amada, which is very exciting. And every day I will log on and plant flowers. That's apparently going to be my life. Oh, it's cloudy now. A last chance for earrings. Let's fucking go. Destiny awaits. Oh, hell yeah. I think I only needed one more of those. That's tits. Let's go. Do you little bastards need something? Out of my way. What? Another one? You're not usually down here. Give me earrings. Despicable. There's never usually a fourth one down there. That was so exciting. Too bad he didn't give me anything. Worthless. I'm sure Kaine's sword needs like 1,000 fucking eagle eggs just to be a huge pain in my ass. Yes.
What can I help you with?
Well, that's not completely wrong. I need 19 more ore, was it? I'm just gonna need a fuck ton of ore, I can feel it.
What can I help you with?
I just need... I'm trying to make money. Let's not get crazy. Let's get a 4. Let's see where that gets us.
Come back. What can I help you with?
Damn.
Come back soon.
I guess
What
I
can I
really
help
did
you
just
with?
need to buy a bunch of fucking iron.
Come back. What can I help you with?
I really wish we could just all do this in one huge. There we go. Alright.
Come back.
Thank you. Alright, let's read the sword stories before we are done. Smash, smash, smash. The sweat rolls down the faces of hard scramble men as they chip away at ironstone, their cheerful singing echoing through the mine. We are workers, workers in the mine, dirty from tip to toe. Again today we search for iron with all our might. Smash, smash, smash. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of women stomping on bellows in the mill. The sound of iron being gathered from the scorched sands. We are workers, workers in the mill. Workers who send wind. Today we stomp the bellows again with all our might. Boom, 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 boom. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of swordsmiths wielding hammers at their forges. The ringing of such transformative blows is stunning indeed. We are swordsmiths. Swordsmiths who bring blades to life. Lords of steel. Clang, 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 clang. Rip, 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 rip. The sound of flesh being rent on the battlefield. The sound of killing enemies, killing someone, killing humans. Someone help me. It hurts. It hurts so much. Help me, mommy. Rip, 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 rip. I love him with all my heart, as he does me. When we cross paths outdoor, he sends signals with his eyes that only I can understand. He treasures my gifts so much. He keeps them locked away in a safe. Oh, I couldn't ask for a better lover. I cannot believe this. My best friend deceived the love of my life and stole him from me. One moment he was there, and the next he was gone. All that remains are some of my gifts, which are scattered across his empty room. Everything else of value has been sold at the village marketplace. This will not stand. He hasn't abandoned me. He's just being tricked by that woman. I know he still has feelings for me. He must. I'm far more beautiful than she is, and he knows it. Oh yes, he knows. But I must make him see the truth, and quickly. I have to get her away from him. I have to kill her. Kill! Hurry up and kill! Consumed by her madness, the young woman slaughtered the young husband and wife, hacking them with such force that the blade of the sword warped. The woman then went into hiding, leaving behind only clumps of unrecognizable meat and a sword with a horribly blunt blade. But no matter how many smiths attempted to repair the sword, it never again regained its original shape. The girl had been betrothed to a local lord on the day of her birth. As she grew, her days were taken up studying proper bridal technique, while her evenings were spent staring out her bedroom window and offering prayers for her betrothed into the night. Oh my lord, if you would come to me but a single day sooner. Her home was occupied by several other girls her age. Each one shared the same betrothed and spent days studying bridal techniques and her evenings praying to the night sky. Oh my lord, if only you would come to me but a single day sooner. One day, a quarrel broke out as girls argued that only the greatest among them could become the lord's betrothed. None would yield an inch, each asserting that they alone could possibly satisfy him. Seeing this, their caretaker said in a kind voice, "Worry not, girls. Each and every one of you shall surely become a bride to our lord." Hearing this, every face lit up an expression of pure joy. On the day they were to be married, the girls were brought to a place of cobbled stone they could see from the windows of their home. A single dagger was then placed before them, and the girls were told they needed to end their life here and now if they wished to meet their betrothed. Upon hearing this news, the girls scrambled to seize the dagger from one another, plunging it into their chest the moment they held it. Years later, a temple named the Betrothed was built on the spot where the girls took their own lives. There is a legend of long ago that speaks of a nation threatened by a great inferno. This nation, however, was saved from eternal hellfire by a sword with the power to freeze anything. Around this sword stood thousands upon thousands of human ice sculptures. A man on a journey to seek out weapons eventually discovered the sword. He wrapped it in several layers of cloth and took it with him, placing it in the bag he carried upon his back. But before the man realized what was happening, the cloth, the sword, and his own body ended up frozen solid. A traveling Shine Maiden discovered the sword. She offered a prayer to her god and gripped the hilt, but cold instantly shot through her fingers and into her body, freezing her solid. In her final moments, the Shrine Maiden unleashed the words of great blasphemy to the god who had failed her. An enslaved woman in a mine eventually discovered the sword. Desiring an easy death over the continuation of her daily suffering, she gripped the weapon firmly, and while the woman did not freeze, she was also unable to pierce her own flesh. Soon, moonlight shone upon the blade of the weapon, reflecting the sight of the woman being beaten and dragged away by her master. These stories are a bit rough. That's right. This here's the weapon that'll be ending your life. Oh, don't sweat it. There's nothing to worry about. It'll be a pain the likes of which you've never felt before. In fact, you won't feel pain at first. It'll be more like water sliding across your skin. Honestly, for most folks, it ain't pain that makes them scream. It's the sight of their own blood flowing out of them. Yeah, it won't end so easy. See this part of the blade right here? I have no idea. Life sucks and then you die. Or don't, I guess. Yeah, it won't end so easy. See this part of the blade right here? This part hurts like a real son of a bitch. It's my favorite, which is why I always save it for the last. I like to use it after people's voices get too hoarse and you can tell what they're saying, which is real. Fucking hell, are you ever loud? Mind piping down there? You're gonna make my hand slip. I won't kill you right away, so don't worry about a thing there, champ. I'm gonna take my sweet time before you finally give up the ghost. Honestly, you'd be surprised how much it takes to kill a person. I mean, think about it. People got 2 eyes, most of them anyway, and 2 ears, 10 fingers, 10 toes, 20 nails across the lot. And don't get me started on the joints, because folks got hundreds of those damn things. Yeah, we got plenty of ways to keep ourselves entertained. Huh? Why am I doing this? Now ain't that a question? Buddy, I'm just doing what you've been doing a good long while now. Nabbing innocent citizens on fake charges, torturing them, and putting their severed heads on display. That ring any bells, buddy? It should, because it was all you. Guess maybe you forgot about all that, eh? Well, that's okay. I'll spend all the time it takes to make sure you remember every last thing you did to my wife and daughter. An elderly scholar sits in the dim reference room of a moldy museum. Before him lies a single box, which has long been sealed away. It's an article of article the museum's previous curator made abundantly clear should never be opened. It is said that this box contains a fossil that drinks the blood of humans. What foolishness! One would think we as people would have outgrown such nonsense. Only someone who spends all their life surrounded by books could possibly believe such preposterous superstition. He opens the box, which spits forth a cloud of dust, and beholds a single stone of bizarre shape. Looking at the attached handle, one could easily conclude that it was used in some manner of ceremony. However, it could be also viewed as a weapon. And what a fascinating shape. Yes, this will require rigorous research indeed. How foolish everyone was to be afraid of something like this. The scholar chuckles softly to himself as he reaches up and gouges out his left eye with the fossil tip. The sisters were puppets of complex machinery. So fine was their construction that any who laid eyes upon them assumed they were human in every way. They were the embodiment of man's greatest technological achievements. They walked like humans, ate like humans, laughed like humans. The one thing they could not do, however, was shed tears, for they were not designed in that way. Because the sisters were machines, they felt nothing. Oh, they might mourn as humans did, but they experienced no true sadness, for they did not know what sadness was. Even when their friends perished in tragic accidents, and their creators died of disease, they felt nothing. To the sisters, all it meant was that those people no longer existed. It was a warm spring day when a lone cat wandered into their home. It was a scrawny, filthy thing riddled with disease. What a bother, the sisters thought as they looked down at the wretched creature. But they fed it milk, wiped it clean, and kept it warm, and soon the cat was well again. From that day forth it would linger wherever the sisters were, brushing against their legs when it wanted food. If it caught a mouse, it would bring it back to boast its prowess. If it wanted love, it would cry out to them in a mewling voice. What a bother, the sisters thought. It was a cold winter's day when the cat came into their house, let out a feeble squeak, and died. Time and time again did the younger sister shake the cat's body, and time again did the elder sister call out to it, but the cat neither moved nor responded. In that moment, the sisters felt as though they felt something break deep inside their chests, and from that day forth, they truly felt nothing at all. I don't have a lot. Some of these are not done, so we won't get the fantastic moral to each story. Long ago, in a faraway kingdom, there lived 3 brothers. The middle brother was a famous general who commanded a vast army. People everywhere were terrified of his troops, for they were most violent indeed. This general loved to make war. He enjoyed nothing more than watching cities burn and corpses pile up. He fought not to subjugate, but simply to destroy all that he could. His well-trained soldiers laid waste to towns and cities and even nations for the sake of their general. And as they hawed and hacked and chopped, the general would chuckle to himself in the most vulgar of tones. The army marched on and on. Nations by the sea, nations in the mountain, nations in the deserts, nations in the tundra, nations to the east, and nations to the west. The general cared not. He simply wished to watch it all burn. His orders were absolute. For years beyond counting, the soldiers killed and 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 killed. There was a famous poet in a land to the far east. Now in his twilight years, his ability had withered such that he could no longer craft a single stanza or verse. The poor poet spent every moment racked with sorrow for what had been lost. But one day a monk appeared by his side, gently placed a blade in his hand, and imparted the following words. Kill one by this blade for 1 poem, and two for 2 in kind, the likes of which will be more splendid than any of this world has ever heard. Clinging to the monk's words, the man waited for the cover of darkness and cut down a man he encountered by the roadside. The following day he wrote the most beautiful poem, instantly reclaiming the fame and prosperity he had lost. The poet went on to kill 2 in succession. He killed one and wrote a poem, then killed again and wrote another. rising to almost dazzling levels of wealth and renown. But soon he became obsessed with knowing how splendid a poem he might write if he were to kill someone precious to him. He killed his wife and wrote a poem. He killed his children and wrote a poem for each. He moved through his state, killing everyone there, writing and writing and writing and writing. Eventually he killed so many passerbyers that the poems could not keep up. He would kill and write, and then kill and kill and kill and kill, until at the end he took his own life, no longer crafting poems at all. All that remained was a blade wet with blood. There once was a royal sword passed down in a prestigious kingdom that had prospered for generations. It was said that the crystal embedded upon it contained great magic, and should it ever absorb the blood of 10,000 people, it would glow bright red and grant its wielder immortality. However, the kingdom's final ruler, known to the world as the High King, valued the continual prosperity of the kingdom he had inherited from his ancestors over any prospect of eternal life. One day, the queen, the king's dearest love, lost her life in a tragic accident. She was with child, and the tragedy occurred shortly before the babe was to be born. Distraught with grief upon hearing the news, the aged king found himself unable to accept the prospect of his royal bloodline dying with him. In an attempt to continue the kingdom's legacy by attaining a body without death, the now mad High King used his sword and cut down any and all subordinates of citizens unlucky enough to cross his path. "If I am to be the final king," he was heard to cry, "then the kingdom survives so long as I live." He killed his subjects by the dozens, the hundreds, the thousands, and with each life he stole, the crystal's light grew more radiant. But when the crystal was nearly full, the king's ailing heart proved unable to bear the burden and burst, killing him on the spot. Alas, had he just slain the pregnant woman and unborn child that were before his very eyes, he would have taken exactly 10,000 lives. There once was a woman who promised her hand to a man who was departing for the front. Devout by nature, she spent mornings, afternoons, and evenings in prayer for the safety of her beloved. Perhaps in response to her earnest pleas, one night a bird, enveloped in light, appeared in her dream and began to speak. "The man you love will surely return safely," said the bird in a beautiful voice. These words brought great comfort to the woman, and she began weeping tears of joy. "However," continued the bird, "his heart will surely not." I bet I can get the rest of these stories, actually. NieR Replicant Sword Stories. And we'll go back and read the one that didn't have it. Oh, here we go. I can do that. What are we on? The Phoenix Dagger? Soon the man returned, as the bird had foretold, his body covered in scars beyond counting. But as the bird had also foretold, he returned with an unfamiliar woman of extraordinary beauty at his side. Despite this, the pious woman could not contain her love for the man, and ran out to meet him as he approached. Surprised, the man embraced her, then collapsed to the ground. The pious woman stood over him with a bloody dagger in one hand, and the ripe crimson fruit of his heart in the other. "His heart will no longer stray," she whispered amidst the gathering pool of blood, her face awash with pure ecstasy. She placed a tender kiss on her beloved's heart and offered a prayer of gratitude. Let's go back to the Beast King real quick. Beast Bane. So this was the man with the armies, and his armies would kill and kill and kill and kill and kill. After some time, the army arrived in a certain nation. They killed its soldiers, they killed its town people, they killed its princesses and princes and dukes and bakers and lawyers and accountants and beggars and thieves. Eventually, a shabby general came pleading for his life with tears in his eyes, but they killed him as well. However, the soldiers thought he seemed familiar and tried to recall how they might have known him. In that moment, however, the general's daughter appeared, and they became so engrossed in ending her life, they never thought about the matter again. So this girl had a huge set of horns on her, beautiful horns, like a bull, just growing out of her head above her ears. I had myself a gander at where the horns met the head, and let me tell ya, they were coming straight out of her skull. So she was the only kid like that in the whole village. The others were all normal. The kid with horns, though? Born real small, apparently. The horns, I mean, not the kid. And hell, they would have needed to be. Fat chance the kid's mama would have been able to push out a pair of horns as huge as that. You'd think a girl like that would have been bullied, right? Well, you'd be wrong. The kid was the hardest person for miles in any direction. Wasn't a man in the village who'd tangle with her. And we're talking about men who ain't scared of nothing. She was the best at doing work, what needed physical strength and all that, and she always led the charge whenever shades attacked. And folks loved her for that, sure, but most of all, they loved her because she was always cheerful and just plain tough. But one day, this huge shade attacked the village that was just too strong. It tore the men apart like old rags, and half the guys in the village died. The girl with the horns fought with all she had, but eventually she couldn't keep up. And the shade lifted her off the ground and ripped the horns right out of her head. The way she screamed was like nothing you've ever heard. Sound shook the earth itself, it did. After that, things got real quiet. So I stepped outside and found both the shade and the girl dead. Each of them had wounds all over, and they were leaking blood just out about everywhere. And don't judge me for saying this now, but it was almost beautiful. Like looking at dark red flowers in a full bloom, you know? Hope that answers your first question about why the folks in this village can't hear nothing. But you should know, none of us think badly of the girl for making us this way. Being deaf is a hell of a sight brighter than being dead. Anyway, we've talked over that day to death, but we think that final scream was her way of saying goodbye. Everyone in the village is honored that the last thing we ever heard was her farewell, and that's the God's honest truth. I was saved from the despair that shackled me. I was freed from the fate that cursed me. I was pacified from the indignation that plagued me. I was changed by the day I met you. My flames will scorch the earth below. My fangs will know the taste of blood. My claws will rend my enemies asunder. My wings will soar the skies above. If your eyes are to be robbed of their light, if your skin is to be stained with blood, if your sword is too heavy a burden, if your lips can no longer produce speech, even if this body is snuffed out, even if these words are stolen, until our contract is complete, until the moment this warmth is lost. Oops. We finally run out of money. Food just costs a lot more nowadays because of the war. We tried begging at the church, but they have their hands full caring for the wounded and can't spare anything. Yona's really lost a lot of weight. I wish I could get her something to eat. We met a nice lady who gave us some food. At first I thought she was homeless like us, but she said she was joining some kind of relief and support thing run by the government, so we decided to go with her. At least Yona seems to be doing okay today. That nice lady from before used a book and turned into a monster. We ran away as fast as we could, but I don't think she's human anymore. Everything those adults told us was a lie. They won't give us money, and they won't treat Yona's sickness. Also, there's a huge wall around the city now, and we can't get out. We should have never have come here. August 5th. It's so cold today. I can't believe it's summer. I actually can see my breath. We decided to hide from the monsters in an abandoned supermarket. We found a few old cans of food here and there, but now those are gone. And also Yona's cough just won't quit. I've got a really bad feeling about all of this. She fears. She fears the pain of suffering, the sadness of losing those she cherishes, however faint. The feeling alone remains with her. She fights. Her swordsmanship is so violent, it wards off sorrow itself. Nothing can stop her vengeful blade from its grim work, not even the fountains of blood that cloud her vision. She dreams. The darkness sings to her of solitude and despair, but she resists, time and time again, never breaking. She presses on. Even if the future that awaits has no meaning, she presses on. Because this is the world with Kasasagi. The shield left hanging on the wall was covered in dust. The blade left in its scabbard had rusted over. The techniques I hadn't used were forgotten. The body I was to train was left to grow soft. I had lost the will to practice discipline. I thought things would end without a single word said. I pretended not to see the violence inflicted by others. I had given up, assuming things would never change. I believed there was no way to oppose such a great power. I sneered at hearts that tried to believe that way. Tried to believe anyway. I laughed, thinking them brainless fools. Those were the thoughts I had taken refuge in. I had given up, believing nothing was possible in the end. I lamented the foolishness and ugliness of it all. My life had lost all meaning. I had lost sight of those precious to me. I could not believe in their kindness. I was unable to save them from their grief that tore at their hearts. I had forgotten the courage it takes to protect the smallest of joys. I believed my words would never reach you. Oops. There once was a ritual of gathering spirits held on the night of the 10th full moon of the year. During the ceremony, they would gather on the shores of a lake and boast to one another of all the evil deeds they had performed during the year. The first spirit took great joy in telling of the unfathomably cruel ways that she had killed some of the finest little soldiers of the land. Over the year, she had transformed her shape into the Lady of the Night and called out to various men, then tore off every last piece of their body when they came to her bed. The soldiers, ashamed their skills could not save them, shed bitter tears as they died, and the spirit claimed that they were the most delicious things she had ever tasted. The next spirit regaled the others with a story of cunning and guile. One night she threw a small boy into a bog. When his older sister came to rescue him, she too sank into the murk. These two were followed by their parents, and then other siblings, then extended relatives, until finally every member of the village was sleeping at the bottom of the bog. When the spirit finished her story, she was beside herself with glee. Yeah, NieR? And I'm not holding my controller right now. She was beside herself with glee that she did not even notice the saliva that dripped down her chin. Nervously, the smallest spirit of the group stepped forward to address the crowd. "I am the most amazing of all of us!" cried the oft-ridiculed spirit at the top of her lungs. "For it was I who thrust all living creatures into terror's deepest depths." The spirits, unable to contain their mirth, collapsed to the ground and rolled out, and their laughter did not cease until the horrifyingly monster the small spirit summoned from the demon world devoured each and every last one of them. We've been together since we were born. We're together when we eat, when we sleep, when we dream. We share everything. We share the milk we get from Mommy and the nice things Daddy says to us. But we're not together when we die. Daddy took me and cut off my head, and Mommy took my sister and cut off her head. But it's okay. Our blood got all mushed up in the big axe, so now we can be together forever. The girl stares at the sight before her. Her father lies nearby, carved to pieces by countless blades. Her mother also lies dying, as well as her newborn baby brother. All had suffered terribly in their final moments, and the girl can do nothing but cry as she stares at the 3 soldiers who have murdered her only family. Years later, the girl reappears, her visage made strong by her vow for revenge. The first soldier has grown so fat that the buttons on his uniform can barely contain his girth. The girl approaches him and claims to know an easy way to lose weight. On the pretext of an examination, she has him lie down on the bed, before suddenly hacking off his arms and legs with an axe. The remaining lump of soldiers screams and attempts to wriggle away, but the girl pins him down and tells him he still has parts he can lose. Some time later, the girl sits in front of the now rounded torso and smiles. "There we are," she whispers. "Look at how nice and slim you are." The second soldier is a peerless Lothario. Each night, a new woman is invited into his manor to spend the night. The girl breaks into his home and kills the woman at his side, then uses her axe to hack off his manhood as he trembles and begs for mercy. The third soldier has long since left the service and is now living a quiet life with his family in a remote village. After they have fallen asleep, the girl takes her axe and cleaves the support beams of the house, causing it to collapse, then sets fire to the wreckage, creating a great bonfire that can be seen for miles in all directions. Suddenly, the soldier's son crawls from the wreckage, covered from head to toe in terrible burns. His eyes fall on the girl who has murdered his family. She hands him her axe and flees into the dark of night, never to be seen again. That's a common story. Long ago, in a faraway kingdom, there were 3 brothers. The eldest brother was a king who ruled over the nation entire. He was a most terrifying king, feared by all. Each day the king would select one of his subjects to execute as a sacrifice. This day, he chopped off his mother's head and forced her family to watch. The spun 3 times as it flew through the air before landing next to the head of her son, who the king had previously killed. Oh, the horror of it all. But the king merely watched the sight unfold before him and laughed in a most unsettling voice. One day, the king contracted an illness most dire, one which caused his body to rot while he was still alive. But though diseased, the king would still drag his decaying flesh to the executions all the same. His retainers dared not defy their king, so they continued to kill, day after day after day after day. In the end, the king rotted and died. He was a disgusting, foul, rotten death, but his retainers continued carrying out executions before the king's rotted corpse every day. Every day, killing. Every day the rotted king, and the rotted retainers, and the rotted citizens, and the rotted you. I raised the cry of my birth. The sound of heated iron taking shape, a steel mallet striking my form, born to deliver karmic justice. I enter the world under the careful watch of spark and flame, and give light to the gloom. I am a blade born of deafening roar. I am a weapon. I am Iron Will. You tell him, Sprightly. I grant death. I transform the dread and screams of my foes to elation. I festoon my iron skin with their viscera. When I rob them of life, I am filled with dark joy. When I crush them beneath me, I find meaning in my birth, and I continue to kill, and I might share this delight with all. I kill and kill and kill and kill. I am a weapon. I am Iron Will. I am shattered. At the battle and blood's end, my body is torn asunder by malice and hate. Today, I again engage the red dragon in battle, and magical forces meet leaping iron fangs to create a bloodstorm. My steel cursed, I sink into the slumbering black. I am a weapon. I am Iron Will. I dream. It is the dream of a small butterfly. In it, the butterfly is caught in a light rain, struggling against it with all its might. In the darkest of nights, I behold a dream that will never come true. I am a weapon. I am Iron Will. I have to Google something real quick. Is Iron Will... Will. Here. I think Iron Will is something from Drakengard. Iron Will has previously appeared in Drakengard as Hymir's finger / broken iron. Broken iron is a recurring weapon in the Drakengard series. Oh, the Drakengard story for it is crazy. It's talking about how it got broken. Very cool. It's in all 3 Drakengards. Oh, Sprightly. This is the story of a time long, long ago. There was once a beautiful bird with resplendent feathers that lived a quiet life in the deep forest. One day, a lost child wandered into the woods. He came from a place of famine and had been abandoned in a forest as a way to reduce the number of mouths to feed. Taking pity on the feeble, starving child, the beautiful bird plucked one of its own feathers and gave it to him. When he returned home, his family was overjoyed by the feather and permitted him to live with them once more. Hearing the child's story, one person after another descended on the forest to tell the bird how poor and unfortunate they were. Each time the bird would pluck a feather and give it away, until it had no more to give, and its once beautiful visage had become shabby beyond recognition. But the shabby bird had no regrets. One day, the original child appeared before the shabby bird, which was featherless and freezing in the cold. He had come seeking a bird with resplendent feathers, that he might repay the creature's earlier kindness. Overjoyed, the shabby bird said to the child, It is I you seek. If I might beg a favor, would you hold me to your to your chest and warm my freezing body. Sparing a single glance at the shabby bird, the child called it a liar and cut it down with a large blade. He then roasted the bird, ate every last part, and set out anew to find the beautiful bird who had once saved his life. Ugh, I keep doing that. Where? It was a beast that lived in the cavern's deepest, most untouched depths. It had massive horns, a body like steel, breath of scorching fire. The peace-loving villagers hated this monstrous beast with the head of a bull and the body of a human. They feared it, and soon the beast became to be known as the Minotaur of the Labyrinth. I thought the Blade of Treachery was about Devila and Popola, but I didn't want to make an assumption. Contrary to its terrifying appearance, the Minotaur was exceptionally kind. Not only did it refrain from harming other creatures, it took care not to trample flowers beneath its oafish feet as it walked. Indeed, the reason it lived so deep inside a cavern was to help avoid frightening the villagers. One day, a lost girl wandered into the beast's cavern, frightened by the sight of it. She cried so hard she eventually passed out, which left the beast in quite the quandary. I have no choice, the beast finally decided. I must take the poor thing back to the village, for her mother and father will be terribly worried. 2 days after the girl vanished, her panicked parents found her sleeping soundly in front of their home. On the ground a short distance away was the dead body of a minotaur. It had been impaled by several swords, and the blood scattered around it held an almost otherworldly quality. Yet there was no indication that the beast had attacked the girl. In fact, it looked as though it had been trying to place as much distance between itself and her as possible, so it did not dirty her with its blood, almost as if it didn't want her to be afraid. And then, having curled up, made itself as small as possible, the monster died. Memoir, June 6, 2003, approximately 1500 hours. A massive white humanoid, initially called the Weapon, but since renamed the Giant, falls from the sky above Tokyo's Shinjuku ward, inflicting tremendous damage. At the same time, a large red creature, henceforth referred to as the Dragon, appears and engages the Giant in combat, though both the nature of its attacks and their utility remain unclear. As the self-defense force contemplates methods by which they might attack the target, the government establishes the Bureau of Emergency Countermeasures. Memoir, June 12, 2003, approximately 1600 hours. The Giant, which was locked in combat with the Dragon, suddenly begins to collapse for reasons unknown. The Dragon is then shot down by the 6th Division, 303rd Squadron of the Air Self-Defense Force. No official record exists of who issued the order to attack the Dragon. Work is begun to retrieve the remnants of both the Giant and the Dragon, but no official verification has ever been made regarding which organization performed the retrieval. December 2003. The first case of white chloration syndrome is confirmed in Tokyo's Shinjuku ward. July 2004. Humans continue to turn violent due to white chloration syndrome, while fighting growing increasingly intense in affected regions. With the cause of this disease still unclear, the infected are isolated and violent riots spread by force. Main thoroughfares are sealed and rail transportation is halted, later leading to all Shinjuku being sealed off. At this time, the prospect of asking the American military for non-official intervention is considered, but the government defers. Meanwhile, research begins on mesoparticles obtained from the Giant and the Dragon, as well as countermeasures for white chloration syndrome. This research ultimately leads to the founding of Project Gestalt a decade later. There were friendly, diligent people. They would clear forests, hunt animals even when they had no need. They developed techniques to preserve food they were unable to eat and earned more money than they could ever be spent. There was not a single one among them who did not accept these practices, for none knew any other customs. They were a frighteningly studious people. Their grasp of calculation and science exceeded any pretense of practicality, and they would repeatedly engage in spirited debates regarding predictions of the future. They invented an increasingly difficult language and created an infinite series of complex machines which would immediately be discarded. but there was not a single one among them who looked back, for none knew of any reason for concern. They were a frighteningly obedient people. Without ever being told, they would greet morning sun in the same time in the same clothes while toiling away in the same cramped rooms. Yet there was not a single one among them who complained, for none knew what else they should be doing. Having worked far too much, the people lost their force and took up to living atop the sand. Having grown far too intelligent, the people conversed in a language that no other people could comprehend. Having grown far too well behaved, the people were unable to defy the laws that would establish one after the other, and came to live their lives enclosed by tens of thousands of rules. In a far-off land, there was a man who acted as a double for the nation's prince, performing duties in his stead as was required. One day, having finished his work, he returned to the prince's chamber to find the princess lying naked in his bed. As the double stood in place dumbfounded, the man who shared his face sneered and invited him to join them. The double loved the prince's sister, and he felt that the princess, who admired him as her brother, loved him as well. Indeed, she was the only thing that kept him going in an otherwise miserable job, for the prince was a most despicable man indeed. Eventually it came to pass that a war was to be waged under the prince's command. The night before it was to begin, the prince took his double aside, and promised him a night with his sister if he could bring him the head of the enemy general. And as the prince chuckled with delight, the double took up his spear and thrust it through the prince's gaping mouth. The war over, the prince made a queen of his sister, and would inflict wounds upon his own face and throat, in an act which would occur every time she called out to him using her brother's name. Before long, the prince was found dead, his face burned, and the spear thrust through his open mouth. The man's face, hideously burned, was the very picture of serenity. The story takes place in a small country at around the same latitude as the northernmost member of a nation of city-states that are a part of a region, with a village that is attempting to establish a trade agreement with another village on a tiny island in the ocean, south of a country that used to have an alliance with a republic next to a kingdom where a queen resided. It was asked by the owner of a shop frequented by a wet nurse who looked after the child born of an adulterous relationship by the wife of the master of a foolish servant who fell in love with a beautiful queen who appears in the poems of a minstrel who was loved by the country's king's wife's little brother's cousin's big brother's son-in-law's foster child. Where does one store the throne that was supposed to be adorned with decorations crafted from the minerals of the handle of the lid of a pot that is the same weight as tableware that is the same color as the weather vane in the neighboring house that can be seen from the peephole of a door in the reflection of a mirror with an ornamental frame decorated with silver carvings engraved with a fragment that was made when creating the whetstone which used to polish this kitchen knife? Oh, Christ. I just see 1,000 nephews and brothers. The person who heard the question was the wife's husband's little sister's big brother's daughter's groom's little brother's nephew's father's mother's husband's bride's niece's father-in-law's wife's husband's little sister's big brother's daughter's groom's little brother's nephew's father's mother's husband's bride's niece's father-in-law's wife's husband's little sister's big brother's daughter's groom's little brother's nephew father's mother's husband's bride's niece's father-in-law's wife father's little sister's big brother's daughter's groom's little brother's nephews, fathers, nephews, fathers, mothers, husbands, brides, nieces, father-in-laws, wives, husbands, little sisters, big brothers, daughters, grooms, little brothers, nephews, fathers. So you know, our friend of the family. In the distant past of a land known as the Golden Isle, there existed a sword crafted from every kind of metal and precious gem in the land, so sharp with its edge and that even the slightest cut would leave an unsealable wound that eventually drained the victim of both their life and their blood. In a strange turn of fate, the sword eventually ended up in the hands of a destitute woman who sold her body to get by. He was never coy. The sword eventually ended up in the hands of a destitute woman who sold her body to get by. The sword was as long as she was tall, and she could not wield it effectively, so instead she slid it between her sheets as a surprise for the men who used her. The sword was so sharp that they felt no pain when cut. and soon died without even knowing it was happening. The woman would help herself to their coin, causing her own purse to swell. Making use of her gains, the woman dressed most beautifully, and soon had acquired every kind of metal and precious gem in the land. But it was not enough for her, so she decided to melt down the sword and obtain the gems contained within, a desire made manifest by the sword's beauty. Thus decided the woman heaved the sword to her shoulders and made for the blacksmith. But on the way to the smith, the sheer weight of the sword caused the woman to lose her balance, and she fell from the bridge into the river below. So unshakable was this woman's greed that she could not bring herself to relinquish her grip upon it. The woman's pale and bloodless corpse was found washed up on the riverside the following day. Long ago, in a faraway kingdom, there lived 3 brothers. The youngest was a terrifically lazy lad who spent most of his days fast asleep. However, he was every bit as cheerful as he was lethargic, and so was beloved by all. When the nation was beset upon by the most contagious disease, the youngest son did not but laze about the palace, humming to himself all the while. But his cheerful music comforted the townspeople, so instead of hating him, they sang his praises. "Oh, what a fine young man," they would say, "just the finest young man you'll ever find." When the nation became embroiled in war, the youngest son did not but laze about the palace, telling stories of the good old days all the while. But his fascinating stories helped the townspeople forget the horrors of war, so instead of hating him, they sang his praises. "Oh, what an amazing young man," they would say, "just the most amazing young man you'll ever find." One day, the youngest son was lazing about the palace as usual, when he realized he could no longer hear the voices of the townspeople, and he wondered why that might be. He lazed and he wondered, he lazed and he wondered, he lazed and he wondered. Eventually, all that wondering tired him out, and he went to sleep. That is why, in that nation where all have perished from war and disease, the only sound that can be heard is the soft snoring of a young man. It is a nation of happiness, a nation of happiness, a nation of happiness, a nation of happiness, a nation of happiness. The captain tramples life under his feet. The screams of others transform into songs of joy. Flowing tears change from despair into darkness. Conflict beckons revenge and gives way to new solitude. He had grown old. The king's dauntless gaze had lost its light, and its stalwart body had grown soft. What's more, every ounce of fear and vanity he had gained with new age gnawed away at his heart. The king was afraid, so he repeatedly ordered the invasion of neighboring countries, so as to hold on to the lands he had been sworn to protect. The king was afraid, so he tried to take everything through violence and oppression, for he no longer trusted his own advisors and vassals. There was a dragon that he had sworn fealty to the king. The wingless creature would do anything the king commanded, for he had been saved by the king once and sworn to repay this debt with his very soul. Even if the king's orders were folly and madness, the dragon would follow them to the last, for his king was justice itself. One day the dragon requested an audience with the king. He was covered in blood from his latest victim, the king's own son, who the regent had ordered the dragon to assassinate. The bloody dragon hung his head low and said, "I cannot defy your orders, O king, but neither can I obey them any longer. I beg of you, kill me and grant me release." This is a tale of a foolish king and a wingless dragon in a nation that fell centuries ago. Even now the wind blows ceaselessly across the grasslands. It blows just as it did on the day the king and the dragon made their pact. There once was a warrior in a frontier nation who feared not death. He was so brawny and powerful, arrows were said to bounce harmlessly off his flesh. For this reason, the warrior threw himself into the thick of any battle. One day, a beautiful bird appeared before the warrior in a dream. The bird commended the warrior for his valor in battle and offered to grant him 2 wishes. The bird could bring an end to the war and grant peace to all the world, or the bird could bequeath the warrior an immortal body. The warrior chose immortality. From that day forth, the warrior's exploits were nothing short of astonishing. He mowed down his foes in an uncountable number. No amount of arrows or swords or axes could slow his march. The king showered him with titles and gifts, and for a time it seemed the warrior's days of stunning glory would continue until the end of time. But the conflict did not cease. Eventually, the warrior's frontier nation was invaded so often that the flames of war left the entire country in ruins. Crops withered, people perished, and before long, there were none left who knew the warrior's name. the shattered warrior, was tortured day and night by endless starvation, but his body refused to let him die, so he sought out the bird again, and pleaded for it to grant him release. "Ah, but you cannot die," chirped the bird in response. "You will never die." She was a hopelessly slow woman. Impossibly clumsy, it would take her 3 times longer than anyone else to accomplish a task. She walked slowly, talked slowly, she even blinked slowly. So slow was the woman that she could not even draw water to anyone's satisfaction. The children began calling her the cow, and laughing when she passed by, but she would only chuckle in response. She was a hopelessly dull woman. When she fell and drew blood, she would carry on as though in a daze. Though coins often dropped from her purse, she never managed to retrieve one, and if someone spoke ill of her to her face, it would take her hours to realize the insult. When the children saw her, they would hurl rocks with glee. She was a hopelessly foolish woman. One summer, when the village was suffering a most terrible drought, the woman vanished. The children all starved to death. The villagers spent no time worrying about the woman who ran away. 2 days later, rain fell, and the village was saved, but the woman did not return. On the 20th day, a shaman arrived at the village. The shaman held a spear with a pair of horns that was oiled and sticky to the touch. So heavy was the spear that none could wield it effectively, though even if they managed to lift it, the weapon was incapable of piercing through anything at all. The shaman forced it on the people and left it with them, but none dared approach it, and to this day it quietly slumbers in a forgotten corner of the village. This is the story of a sorrowful prince, a tale of a kingdom in time long past. Attacked by the forces of darkness, the nation was annihilated in a single night by inhuman soldiers with red eyes and a group of black dragons so numerous they blotted out the sky. Having infiltrated the king's castle, the black dragons visited upon the king and queen a most horrible fate. It is said that their stomachs were torn apart by the black dragon's mighty claws, and the very floor they stood upon became a sea of blood. The prince and princess, though racked with sorrow, escaped to live another day. The prince, spurred by shock of witnessing his parents' tragic end, became consumed by a desire to extract vengeance. This is a story of a terrifying prince, a history of conflict in the long ago. Obsessed with laying low his hated enemies, the prince indulges in his vengeance day after day after day. Even when faced with foes who take heel, he chases them down and tears them apart from groin to gullet. The carnage is so horrific that his fellow soldiers whisper tales of how they saw him mutilating bodies that are already long dead. Perhaps because no commander can control him, the prince is sent to an even harsher battle. This is a story of a fooled prince, the whereabouts of fate in the long ago. The prince's next battleground is a castle that guards a goddess. He lays waste to all before him, hacking arms, cleaving legs, rending stomachs, gouging eyes, separating heads from shoulders. But soon the injured prince can no longer tell the difference between the blood that rains down and which comes from his own wounds, and he collapses in a heap. As he writhes in pain, coughing up gouts of hot blood, he lifts his gaze and sees a hated dragon standing before him. This is the story of a mad prince, a meeting with a dragon in the long ago. An injured red dragon stands before the prince, and though it is a different color than the beast that killed his parents, he feels the need to avenge himself upon it regardless. But as he raises his sword, the dragon says, "In exchange for both our souls, human, I will save your life and grant you power." After some thought, the prince makes the pact. It matters not to him what he might lose in the deal, or that it involves a dragon. All he cares about is that he can continue swinging his blade. So he swings and swings and swings with each blow. His heart fills with a desire as black as the deepest night. And that's it. That is all the stories. There are some DLC swords missing that are not in Replicant, and I believe those are the Automata swords. I believe 2B's and 9S has swords, but we will get those stories when we play Automata, which will be tomorrow. Very exciting stuff. We have done all the story that we can. We have only missed a single this is too loud. We have only missed a single side quest, and that's not super important. We did all the very good and important ones, so that was a lot of reading. That was a lot of reading. I knew it would be a lot of reading, but I was not prepared for it all the same. Thank you so very, very much for being here. NieR Automata will start immediately tomorrow. I have become the memory tree. Yes. So NieR Automata will start tomorrow in this same time slot, 6 p.m. EST. Thank you so much for being here. This was really, really fun. I have always been very familiar with NieR, but I never actually played the games myself because the camera angles sometimes make me go. Ugh. So that is also why I've never played Automata. But I am the lore. I know all about the lore, so I'm very excited to experience that with everybody. And I will not be playing it on crazy hard mode like I did with this game. Christ, that was I don't even know how that happened. But things got a lot better very quickly when we changed it. I hope you all have a very lovely evening, and I will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. for Banjo-Kazooie or at 6 p.m. for NieR Automata. Have a great night, everyone, and I will see you soon. Goodbye!